Hello, hello, professionals. My name is Rico Aladdin, and I'm the founder of Professional Lunch. My guest today is a former mayor. He is currently a judge, and I'm so glad to have you here, sir. Judge Jonathan Judd, please tell the professional lunch audience who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Jonathan Judd. I'm currently a judge in the state of Minnesota 7th Judicial District.
Okay.
Been there now for over 2 years, and I'm a father. I'm a husband. Try to be an active participant and being involved in our community. So, but I wear one official hat, but a lot of unofficial hats in the community.
I like that. I like that. We'll talk about the unofficial hats later. So tell us a little bit about your background. You are a mayor and now a judge. How about that transition? How was that?
You know, it was a good. Obviously, there's always going to be a little bit of a learning curve when you start something new. But I think as far as the transition, it's been a good transition. I've got a lot of great colleagues that I work with, a great team with my court staff, not only in Otter Tail County, where Fergus Falls, where I'm at, but just all over the district. Really, really, truly blessed to have the opportunity to work with those folks. They've made the transition a lot easier. But like any other job, it's still a pretty big learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. So I understand you went to NDSU. You were here for your undergrad, I suppose.
Absolutely, 91 to 95.
Okay, and then you went to UND.
Yep, UND Law. Yep.
So is it true? We're gonna take this time to talk about. Is there a little rivalry between the two schools that is still going on?
Not. I think it was pretty much a big rivalry back when I was here.
Okay.
And then when NDSU was going through the process of going Division I, and they didn't play each other, it wasn't as much. But I think it's trying to rekindle itself, if you will. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll take the conversation towards you as a judge, but being a mayor is a big job, for a great community such as Morehead. So as a judge, what are your duties and responsibilities?
Well, in essence, what we do, and this might be an oversimplification, because some people talk about using a baseball analogy where you call balls and strikes. That might be oversimplifying it, but just to break it down, I mean, in essence, what we look at is we look at the parties that come before the court, and we have to keep an objective, equitable lens by how we resolve disputes between parties. So the cases I hear, there are criminal cases, there are family law cases, there are civil cases. When you get closer to the Twin Cities, those courts, like in Hennepin County, Minneapolis, or Ramsey County, St. Paul, they divide up the judges to serve in certain types of courts, where there's a civil court, a family court, and a criminal court, and then they do a rotation based on length of time. In greater Minnesota, we hear everything.
Oh, wow.
So in one day, you could probably hear a criminal case, and then the next day you could hear a civil case, or you could hear a family law case, or a juvenile delinquency case. So I would say what our jobs are, breaking it down to simplify it, is our job is to make sure that the justice system where we are moves in an efficient, effective manner, and making sure that all parties are heard in an equitable manner when they come and resolve their disputes in court.
Okay, wonderful. So what are your favorite types of case?
Well, adoptions. Everybody's happy, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I was told, is that when you have when you do an adoption, everyone leaves happy. So those are probably obviously at the top of the list. To be honest with you, I've taken a pretty holistic approach to all my cases. So I try to see positives in all or the majority of the cases that come before me, because they're looking to me and others in my position to solve problems, and be objective and take a holistic approach to resolving problems. But I can't necessarily say there are cases that I dislike, but I usually try to see the positive in all the cases.
Okay. Okay, so this show is about giving young professionals a window into successful professionals to see how they do what they do, what they like about their job, and what are some of the challenges. So, describe to me what is your workload on a day-to-day basis.
It depends on the day, obviously, but
Mhm.
I say the majority of the time, when I wake up in the morning,
Mhm.
I would say, even though our technical start time is 8 a.m.,
Mhm.
you're usually preparing the weekend.
Mhm.
So usually Sundays, there's hours that you put into preparing for the Monday through Friday court calendar.
Mhm.
And when you start your Monday calendar at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're still preparing for those cases
Mhm.
that come before you. Usually 9 until noon is straight court cases.
Okay.
There's limited break time. So you're making decision after decision till noon, and then if you get a lunch break, because sometimes you're working over lunch, depending on time-sensitive matters, then you're back at it at 1:30,
Wow.
and then 1:30 to 4:30, you're in court.
Mhm.
So there's very little time to actually do the paperwork that you need to get done
Mhm.
to resolve the matter until after hours, or get up at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and get it done.
Mhm.
But practically for 8 hours, you're in straight court having hearings.
Wow. So at the, a little bit ago you mentioned official and unofficial hats. So what are some of the unofficial hats that you?
Well, we're limited in the judicial branch
Mhm.
where we can participate in the community because we still have to be objective,
Yeah.
so we can't serve on boards or things of that nature, that, might create a conflict of interest.
Mhm.
But I would say unofficial hats. I mean, again, I've got a loving, caring family. I've got 3 kids, so I'm a father.
Mhm.
I'm a husband. I would say I'm a football coach. I like to
Oh,
referee.
okay.
I'm refereeing football,
Mhm.
may even referee lacrosse. Never played lacrosse a day in my life, but I think it's really important
Mhm.
for anyone, whether you're a young professional, um, or if you're been in your profession for a number of years, you got to stay actively involved in your community. You got to know what the pulse of the community is,
Mhm.
and so I would say to at least, I know we ain't got to the advice part yet, but just as
Mhm.
we're going down that
Yeah, yeah,
road,
absolutely.
when I can get it in,
Mhm.
you got to stay actively involved in the community. I
Mhm.
can definitely say I would not have been mayor,
Mhm.
nor would I've gotten this position to be in the position to be here today if I was not actively involved in the community in those unofficial roles, serving on boards, coaching kids, being involved in youth events, being involved in school activities, things of that nature.
Mhm.
So those are just the number of the unofficial hats that I think I wear.
Wow, very good, very good. So there's the law, where you are right now, and also there's politics where you just have been 2 years ago. So plus and minuses of those two.
To be honest with you,
Mhm.
in being in politics,
Mhm.
I mean, there is stress
Yeah.
because the problem is no matter what decision you make, you're not going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
Um, I love being in politics. I mean, it was a very stressful time with the pandemic, the race conversation going on in our society,
Mhm.
and also part of what my responsibilities was to handle the FM diversion project that's going on. So 3 big controversial things: flooding. We had a lot of things going on, and the pluses are that, to me, you get to meet people and hear their stories. You
Mhm.
have to be a good listener being in politics.
Yeah.
You should be a good listener anyway,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you really need to take that empathetic listening to a whole nother level when you're in politics. When people are hurting, you have to, feel what they feel and understand.
Mhm.
And you have to be able to try to find creative solutions to those problems. That's what I loved about being in politics, and that's what I love about my job.
Mhm.
The challenges, I think, major are not being able, obviously, to make everyone happy.
Mhm.
Because when you make a decision, there's someone's going to benefit from it, someone's not.
Yeah.
So I think being able to being healthy, having a healthy mental, physical mindset to be able to deal with those stressors, I think that's a big challenge.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. So we're gonna take a short break here. When we come back, we're gonna talk to Jonathan Judd about some of the things that he loves about his work. We'll be right back. We are back. We are at the Basel Information Network Studio at NDSU. My guest today is Judge Jonathan Judd. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me again.
Now we're gonna talk about at least my second favorite part. Talking about what you love. What do you love the most about your job?
Working with people.
Okay.
Working with people, trying to be that person to bring a common sense, using the law perspective on resolving conflict and problems. Again, it's something that I feel that people want to have a person who can see the bigger picture, no matter what the situation is, and I like that. It's problem solving. I think it's I know some people may look at it as being very challenging, but I find a lot of positives in doing that. So I love doing that.
Yeah, wonderful. So, what would you consider to be your biggest accomplishments in your professional life?
Biggest accomplishment in my professional life, probably just being here.
Yeah.
I mean, being honest. I mean, I
Yeah.
grew up as a first generation college student, and
Wow.
yeah.
You know, go ahead, because
No,
when I
no.
hear that, I think about myself as a first generation college student, and I meet quite a few professionals who are, and I'm always now you already have my attention, but now you have the whole 150% of my attention.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I come from a very humble background. My grandparents did not finish high school. I was raised by my grandparents for a certain amount of time. My mom was one of the first people in our family to graduate from high school. And it's one of those situations where, I had to navigate finding mentorship, hence your reason for having this show, through others to get to where I'm at.
Yeah.
I didn't know which road I was going to take to get here. So to be honest, for me to be sitting here with you today as a judge in the great state of Minnesota and having been a former mayor when I didn't even plan on being here, that within itself is a professional
Oh my
accomplishment.
goodness. So describe to me the experience. Now I'm curious. The experience of being a judge, the experience of being a mayor, especially when you come from humble background. So how did that feel like?
Well, it's stressful because you've never been there. And then when no one in your family's been there, I mean, when your family has limited college graduates and limited professional experience, you don't know,
Yeah.
And so the thing is that one of the reasons why I think I'm here is because my grandparents taught me the value of being a part of something that's bigger than you. Anything that I've done in my life it's not about me. It's about serving others, servant leadership. It's really about, now that you're here in this position that people trust you to be in, what are you going to do to make society better? What are you going to do to make every life that you touch individually better because these folks are in front of you? And I think having that perspective, being mayor and now being a judge, I come into this space not having it be about me and what's a benefit to me. My mindset has been, when I served in those roles, to be, how can I be a benefit and service to others?
Wow, I truly love that. And you said something that is really, really crucially important, is the fact that sometimes when we don't have someone that is guiding, helping us find a way, right, a mentor, a role model, it's probably 10 times harder than the person who does have somebody that can say, okay, you should try this. Here's how it works. You should do this, you should do that. And I think that's really important. So I guess in college, did you have a mentor?
Well, my professors.
Okay.
I mean, there were relationships that I have from here, and this is why I'm near and dear to my university, to my alma mater, because there were folks who I met in my going to school here that didn't have to take the extra step, that didn't have to, on their personal time, spend that time to guide me. And, when you open up that relationship to tell them, I'm lost. I mean, this is my first time. I mean, I come from a town that was smaller than, at least in Apex, North Carolina. At the time, this college campus population was bigger than my town. And so I came up here when my senior year in high school. And so I had mentors. The person who I lived with, who was the dean of pharmacy at the time, was a mentor. I mean, so there were people in pockets that I reached out to.
Wonderful, wonderful. So my next question is: does being a person of color impact your career in any way,
Yes.
positive or negative?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it impacts my career because, and I piggyback on what I think Jerry Pigeon, when he was on your show, said. I have to be successful, and I put that on me so that there are other individuals that come after me. I've got to set that example, set that work ethic, set that tone. And I know it's something that maybe some folks feel that I don't have to do, but I feel that as a part of my obligation in this space to be successful and to put the best foot forward in order to enable others after me to be able to follow behind me. So with that mindset, that's how I operate, with the bigger picture, the end result in mind. So it does impact me, I feel, in a positive way. Is it stressful being the first Black mayor in Moorhead? Absolutely. Was it stressful? Was it stressful being the first African-American judge in greater Minnesota? Yes. But that I don't see that as a negative or a challenge. I just see it is what it is, and now I gotta make sure that I'm not the last one.
Wow, I like this part. It's you are not the last one. So if talk to this young man or young woman who's watching the show today, about the best part of practicing law. Talk to this young woman, this young man, whoever's watching the show right now. So tell them about the best part of practicing law.
Well, I think the best part of practicing law is the fact that you get to help others. You are that example of helping others. You put their needs first before yours, and I think there's value in that. There's a growth in that. There's a challenge in that, and I think it's one that should be embraced. I think the practice of law can be very stressful, but very rewarding because you helped someone out of a very tough situation. And so I think that's, I think to me a benefit of serving others, that servant leadership piece that we talk about. I mean, that's the best part, I feel, of practicing law.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. So, it's like, when you find a good conversation, I don't want to go to break. I know when the next segment is coming. When we come back here, we're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we will talk about some of the challenges that the judge face in his line of work. We'll be right back. Oh. We are back. We are at the Basin Information Network studio at NDSU. And now we get to talk about the best part, the challenges. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you face as a judge?
Well, I will tell you this. I'm glad you said that about being the best part. One of the greatest books I can always tell anyone that they should read that I've read is by Ryan Holiday, and it's called The Obstacle is the Way. It's about mindset. It's about when a challenge comes before you, we're not going to run from it. We're going to embrace it, and we're going to learn something from it. So I will tell you, in regards to challenges, probably is the same as what the positives are. The challenges are that you're hearing people and you're seeing people probably at, if it's in a criminal level, the lowest point maybe of their lives. We deal with people who are chemically dependent. We deal with mental health issues. We deal with a lot of issues that really are at the core root of the problem as to why they're there. And the challenge is, it's stressful. You don't know if the decision that you make is going to benefit that person. However, that's the fun and the challenging part within itself, is to get all the information, looking at the case law, listening to the attorneys, trying to put everything together so you can make the best decision possible. But that's the challenge, is that you're hoping that you make the right decision and the best decision.
Okay. So, in your professional life, as you were starting out, what was for you, when I say challenge in general, but for yourself as a professional, as a successful professional, what was for you one of the biggest challenge that you have to take steps to overcome yourself?
Believing in myself.
Oh, that's great.
Well, again, you come from a first generation college background. I came from a single parent household.
Mhm.
I mean, you can check the boxes as to whether I was going to succeed or not. If you were playing the odds were that I were not going to.
Mhm.
So being the first in anything, right? You're always going to second guess yourself. You're gonna you're gonna lack that self confidence. Seeing that I surrounded myself around people who saw something in me that I did not see in myself because I had to do my own growth to get to that point.
Mhm.
That was the biggest obstacle for me, is that you kind of get that imposter syndrome. Do you truly belong here? I mean, do you really, should you be here? When you surround yourself around people who believe in you, who build you up, uh, you can overcome that obstacle. But that was the biggest obstacle, is believing in the fact that I deserved to be in any space where I was at.
Okay. Have you ever had to deal with rejection, like whether it's for a job or
Absolutely.
yeah?
I tell people I'm very transparent. I had to apply for my judicial position 3 times before I got it.
Hmm.
But I learned something for every time, for the 2 times before that I didn't get it. I sought out feedback. I sought out constructive feedback. I went to people and asked them, what do I need to work on? This is my goal. Once I figured out it was my goal,
Mhm.
I went to people and asked people, what are some things that you feel like I need to work on professionally or personally so I can achieve this goal?
Mhm.
And there's a strength in that. Some people don't want to hear constructive criticism because they may have a different mindset about how they take it. So to me, I took those failures, if you will, if you want to call them that, or challenges or
I call them
obstacles.
learning opportunities.
Exactly. That's the mindset
Yes.
that I think we need to have as professionals,
Mhm.
because it never stops once you get here.
Mhm.
I have learning opportunities every single day. And I think for the young folks that are trying to achieve, take those learning opportunities and run with them.
Mhm. So, what have you seen in court that you want to either emulate or avoid doing since you started the last 2 years?
Very good question. I would probably say I want to be able to have every voice be heard.
Mhm.
Whatever your opinion is, whatever you're going through. One of the biggest feedbacks I think that we have got in the judicial branch from self-represented litigants, they used to call them pro se,
Mhm.
without attorneys, but self-represented litigants, is people want to be heard. Even if they may not know the law, even if they may be interpreting the law incorrectly, their voices are important. They want to be heard.
Mhm.
And some folks that come before court have felt in society they haven't been heard or they lack that voice. So I want my courtroom, and I think that we strive through all judges to give people the right to be heard.
Mhm. Well, wonderful. So there's, as you might uh, hear that over and over again in many organizations, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is a big topic now in pretty much all organizations. So, what does that mean to you, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Well, it's something I've been working on since I came. I mean, I don't know, since I moved up here unofficially, and then
Mhm.
officially when I started my work at Concordia College and at M State and as mayor. I mean, throughout my professional career and being on the boards of directors of nonprofits, it's something that's always been valuable, a valuable space to work in.
Mhm.
What does it mean to me is to see things through an equitable lens. And again, not to get too much in the weeds for lack of time and getting more in depth, the broad brushstroke, if you will,
Mhm.
is to make sure that when we look at people, when we make these decisions, when we hire people, when we look at the evolution of our judicial branch
Mhm.
and within our local communities, we need to make sure that we're seeing things through an equitable lens.
Mhm.
If we have disparities in how outcomes are being measured,
Mhm.
we need to ask those questions why.
Mhm.
If there are certain groups of the population that aren't, for whatever reason, achieving what they should be achieving or as a best outcome, if you will. We need to ask questions as to why do these disparities and these inequalities exist, problem solve, and try to fix those.
Mhm. So, in your line of work, in your interaction with others, what do you think the big misunderstanding is, or where is the big misunderstanding when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
We're not listening.
Mhm.
I don't know how many trainings I've been to in the last years, and it really comes down to if you tell me your story,
Mhm.
I'm not going to have the answer right away.
Mhm.
If I'm doing my job as a community member, I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
Listening, I'm doing empathetic listening.
Mhm.
I'm not going to immediately dismiss
Yeah.
your story
Mhm.
or your journey in life
Mhm.
because it's something that I'm not used to or I haven't seen or heard.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen. I'm going to ask questions.
Mhm.
What I've found is if people actually listen to understand rather than listening to rebut, you can find commonality. That's one of the reasons why I think I was elected mayor is
Mhm.
that even though you can be on opposite ends of the spectrum or come from completely different
Mhm.
socioeconomic backgrounds or cultural backgrounds, if you take the opportunity to actually have a conversation and listen
Mhm.
and ask questions to learn
Mhm.
rather than asking questions to prove that you're right or whoever is doing who should be listening is
Mhm.
right instead of dismissing someone's story.
Mhm.
That's the biggest, I think, barrier that we have in our society, and I preached that for years.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So, what is next for Judge Judd?
What is next?
Yeah.
Going back to work and going back to my current job.
Mhm.
I love my current job
Mhm.
and making sure I'm doing the work that needs to be done
Mhm.
in the community, but also making sure that my kids, my spouse feel valued, and also making sure that I get 2 more kids walking out with their graduation gowns. I mean, that's
Oh,
really,
wonderful.
yeah. I mean, to me, this is the work in the community that I love. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And I want to be able to focus on my family and my community and how I can be a good ambassador to the Minnesota Judicial Branch.
Wow, wonderful. So, the reason why I say because you were just describing how busy your life is. Do you have a hobby?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I mean, to be honest, I
Mhm.
mean, my youngest child. I'm not a good golfer, but he
Mhm.
wants to go golf.
Oh, there you go.
So I mean, I like to golf. I do a lot of reading. I
Okay.
read. I read very much.
Mhm.
I read probably 2 to 3 books a month, and I would read probably more if I had
Good
more
time.
time to do it. But I mean, I'm always a student,
Mhm.
whether it's law or leisurely reading. And I also referee. I coach football
Mhm.
in the past, and now I'm looking to referee football.
Mhm.
So those are my hobbies.
Well, so in the last segment, I asked you to talk to that young woman or young man um, about the best part of practicing law. So now, what would you tell that same person about navigating the challenges of practicing of a career in practicing law?
Well, I would probably say to the individuals that are out there that looking at wanting to be an attorney or judge,
Mhm.
you got to feed your mind. You really have to immerse yourself again in the pulse of the community. You have to immerse yourself in understanding the sociology, the psychology of people, because that's how you tend to make good decisions. That's
Mhm.
why DEI is important. I mean, there's a lot of things going on that you should approach with a mindset as an opportunity and not an obstacle, and embrace it, and then educate yourself. Always be a student. Always be a student. Just because I'm a judge does not mean that I don't have blind spots. I still have to work on those blind spots every single day and embrace them. Surround yourself around people who are farther along in their career. You can learn something from those folks.
Mhm.
So I would say, oh, last but most certainly not least, take care of yourself from a physical and mental health standpoint.
Mhm.
It's easy to work 80, 90 hours a week doing this work. But you need to take that space. Take your vacations. Go work out. Take an hour a day to rejuvenate your mind and check out with that book. Go for that jog or workout. Talk to a friend, not about work. Give yourself that pass to check out, because you can grind yourself. And I know young folks talk about grinding. Well, sometimes you need to just pause on the grind and take care of yourself, because you're going to wake up one day, and be, cause yourself some physical and mental, concerns if you don't take that time to slow down and enjoy the moment.
Well, I guess that was going to be my next question to ask you. What advice do you have for young professionals? I think you can't beat that, right?
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, and that's the thing where, what I'm learning now that I'm older are things that I probably should have taken into account when I'm younger. Because you wake up like I did. I just graduated my oldest in high school this past weekend, and you wake up one day and you kind of realize, if you don't slow down and enjoy those moments, it does fly by, and you can't be so involved in your career and that grind and that hustle that you don't enjoy your family. You don't enjoy your children. Talk to your parents, your grandparents, your friends, There's a time and a space for all of this, but you can't let it grind you into the ground at the cost and risk of your physical, emotional, and mental health and well-being.
Wow, this is really good, man. This is good. I was about to ask you, now that you are so successful, accomplished, you were mayor, you were judge, things that you wish you knew when you were in college, when you were starting out, to make, to have them avoid making either some mistakes or, deal with certain things.
The list is endless.
Yeah, I know, right?
The list is endless. Yeah. But that's the thing where when I tell people to always be a student. Just because I'm here, like I said, doesn't mean you stop learning. I learn. My kids teach me things every day.
Yeah.
And they're still teenagers. There's plenty I know that I wish I would have learned, but then again, I have no regrets, because the way my mindset is now that I'm older, these things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
I had to go through these obstacles in these life's journeys in order to get to where I'm at. I wouldn't be where I'm at had I not suffered through the obstacles and found a way to work through it. And that's the thing. It's okay to fail as long as you objectively look at the reasons why it happened. Surround yourself around people of professional integrity and credibility, and also who have your best interest at heart.
Yes.
That's the big thing. If people give you constructive criticism to learn from to get through the obstacle, it's okay. You might take it personal, but after you have the opportunity to sit back and debrief, they may have a point as why they're telling you that.
Yes.
Those are the things I wish I would have probably paid a lot more attention to, because my growth area probably would have expanded far beyond where, it was at that time.
Wow, man. I think that this is a good part. I don't want people to forget what you just said. So this is a good a good moment to stop the interview so that they can meditate on that when they are done listening to the show. Judge, thank you so much, sir, for being here on the show. You don't know what that means to me.
Well,
to
thank
have
you for having me.
on the show.
Appreciate you.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Hopefully in the future we'll have more opportunities to sit down again to revisit in your in the activities and the initiative that you're taking in your career. So I'm so glad and so pleased with our interview, and so glad that you were able to make it here today. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
No problem. Now, this is the part that I tell you, it's up to you to make today a great day. Have a great day.